Hey guys, Mikey Moore here, lead singer of The Responding and worship pastor of Crossroads Community Church. Thank you so much for watching another Responding resourcing tutorial video. Today we're going to be talking about how to have hard conversations with volunteers. Hard conversations come with any capacity as being a leader, but as a worship pastor, you might feel like these come up more times than you like, not only because you're dealing with the skills of the players and the singers, but you're also dealing with the lives that they lead on and off the stage. So today in this video, we're going to be talking about how to have these hard conversations in both a loving way, but also addressing the issue right on. If you find today's video helpful, make sure that you like our page so that you never miss another video, and smash that share button so that more people can benefit from this video as well. All right, let's get right into it. Okay, so first, as we're talking about hard conversations, we need to address what kind of conversations you might actually need to address. So here are some of those right now. As a leader, if you want your team to thrive and grow, you're gonna need to come up with the standards that you don't compromise on for your team. But some of these players might actually fall behind in these standards of your skill level, and these need to be addressed. It may feel odd to some of them because they've never experienced this type of conversation before, but it's necessary if you want your team to grow. So this is how we're going to address these kind of conversations. When you approach someone about their skill, here's how you can go about it. First, ask how their livelihood is. One of the issues might be that they just don't have the time to practice anymore, which is causing them to show up unprepared. In this case, you might work with them to figure out how to coach them to have more margin in their life to be able to practice. They might have some stress in their lives that is making it so even if they know their parts, that they aren't executing them correctly due to not being able to focus when at worship practice or in a service. In this case, you might need to figure out if it's serious enough that they need to take a season off the team to deal with the work or family circumstance, and then come back when they feel they're able to devote more time to this. I do want to make a note with this, that this is not the point where you kick them off the team and stop communicating with them until they have the time. It's actually the opposite. In this case, you're actually going to be walking with them through whatever they're going through. And in the long run, by doing this, you're actually going to have a team member that comes back more healthy, more prepared, which is better for the team in the long run. So press in, don't push away, press in. Another question you might ask them is if their life is well and they are able to focus, it might be just that they have hit a plateau in their skill. So the question you'll ask them is, do you feel like you're struggling to keep up with the new music material or innovations that have been implemented recently? You might have recently added in as a worship pastor a click track or tracks in your worship set, and the volunteer might not be able to play to a click properly or follow the arrangements corresponding to the tracks. If this is the case, see first if it's something you can coach them through. Depending on the person, you might be able to work with them on playing to a click or tracks. They might also not fully understand how to practice with the click track or tracks using whatever program that you are providing for people to listen to the rehearsal material on. In our case, we use Planning Center. So I would suggest maybe using Planning Center for using those rehearsal materials, but whatever you use, make sure they fully understand how to rehearse with that program. There might be times where the player is not actually able to be coached up to playing with clicks or tracks. And in this case, you might actually need to have them relocate to another area of serving, or if they don't want to do that, and this is a last resort, you might actually just need to have them step off the team. But again, use that as a last resort. The first option is to try to see if you can relocate them to another area in the creative arts department. In this next section, we're going to be talking about team member issues. One of the things you might find is that a team member does not mesh well with the rest of the team, and you're catching it after the fact rather than when you did the audition process. These conversations are hard because you're now cleaning up a situation rather than catching it early on. So when you're going about these conversations, here are some of the ways that you can do it. Find out how their life is at home or work. As we talked about in the skills section, sometimes the root of these problems start outside of the serving context. If there are stresses in their life that is causing them to be irritable around others on the team, ask them if you can talk through it with them and see if you can help to find a way to lower the stresses in their outside life. Next, Find out if it's a specific team member and ask them what the issue is that they are having with that team member. If it's because the other team member is doing something that they are having issues with, find out first if it's something you need to address with that other team member, or if the team member you are talking with will need to go personally to that other person to clear it up. Your goal as the worship pastor is to get to the core of the issue and then give them options to choose. Now, giving them an option to choose means they must choose an option, and sometimes that option is that they don't want to do anything about the situation, and this leads us to our final question in the team member issues section. It might be that you find out it's a personality issue that you didn't catch during your audition process. Your job as the worship pastor is to defend and uphold the values that you have as a team. Sometimes a person on your team has chosen to stop upholding these values, and this needs to be addressed. So here's what you need to find out. Find out if you can work with them on the values that they aren't upholding. If they're willing to work on them, that's great. If they are happy with the way they are and they aren't wanting to change, then asking them to step off the team is not only good for them, but it also is necessary for your whole team. Remember, you are giving them options to choose. You are not choosing for them. Another conversation that you might have to have with the volunteer is that they aren't engaging as much as you require for someone to be on the team. As a worship pastor, you need to decide what level of engagement is required for someone to be on the team. You not only need to decide what these standards are, but you need to clearly communicate your standards to your team. Once you clearly communicate these standards, you will find that these conversations come up more often because people are starting to self-select themselves off the team due to the required engagement. So when coming up on these kind of conversations, here is how you can go about it. Like every other topic before, find out if there is something in their home or work life that is keeping them from being involved as much. This might be something that they're willing to change, but in some cases, they can't or don't want to change the way their life is to fit being around more involved. If they don't want to be more involved than they are, you need to decide what your next move is. So here are the next questions that you could ask them if you find this out. You could ask the team member to step off the team till they have more margin in their life to be involved. Or you could adjust your standard of engagement for your whole team in order to fit someone like that on your team. Or finally, you could ask them if it's someone on the team that they have an issue with that is keeping them from being as involved. If that's the case, refer back to the part where I talked about the issues with the other team members. Lastly, this is one of the hardest conversations that you're going to have with volunteers, but it is so necessary. And once you get through it, it will make the team better. And that is having a hard conversation with the volunteer that is causing drama or spreading gossip within the team. There is never any room for this kind of behavior on a team. This kind of behavior will destroy the culture you have been building, and you will lose more and more team members until you address it. This kind of conversation you need to address and address quickly, but you need to be cautious and have a game plan going into the conversation depending on the situation that is at hand. So when approaching these conversations, here are some of the ways that you can go about it. You need to find out what the problem actually is before going into the conversation so that you know exactly how you want to address it. You need to be careful when doing this and only involve the parties that you think you need to have. Bringing anyone else into the conversation that isn't a part of it will only cause more problems. Next, you need to address it understanding that you don't have all the sides of the story and that you are there to come with inquisition, not accusation. The goal is to get to the core of the issue and then resolve that issue. More times than not, it's a deeper issue than the one you first encounter. Throughout the course of the conversation, you might find that the volunteer who is causing strife within the team needs to be taken off the team for a time to work on their personal life. In this scenario, you need to figure out if you will offer them the ability to come back later or if it's severe enough to warrant them not coming back on the team at all until you feel it's appropriate. When dealing with these types of conversations, they're not going to be easy. That is why they're called hard conversations. But the ultimate outcome is going to benefit not only your team, but also yourself. Your goal as the worship pastor is to defend the culture that you have been building, and these hard conversations are going to be able to allow you to do that. Thank you so much for watching another Responding Resourcing tutorial video. If you found information in this video that is gonna help you with your hard conversations, make sure you smash that like button and hit the share button so that more people will benefit from this video as well. Until the next video, have a wonderful rest of your day.